Did you ever need to stress test your computer and were completely thrown off by how boring that old people's software is? Ew! Where's the excitement, the dopamine, the falling meteor showers from the sky? Welcome to Soulstone Survivors. Soulstone Survivors is an action RPG distilled into its most basic form, currently out in early access. The gameplay loop is straightforward. Select a character, a weapon and a map, kill monsters and collect experience, select new active skills and passive upgrades that let you kill more monsters, more harder, more better, more faster, more stronger, defeat a set number of bosses that spawn occasionally, and you're done. Your skills all fire automatically and your only job is to aim them as accurately as possible while hitting high priority enemies and dodging their attacks. I should point out, bosses are particularly well designed for a game in this genre. There isn't a huge variety as of yet, but what exists is very much above par. Each boss has a very particular way to approach. Some you'll want to get very close to and rush down, others you will need to take for a walk around the entire map, others will punish you for taking too long to kill, and so on. This is manageable on its own, but where it gets truly interesting is when you face multiples at once, and where you'll need to juggle wanting to get up close and personal with the mechanical construct right as a stupid Chaos Knight fills half of the screen with exploding nonsense. Okay, that all sounds very good, but how on earth does one spend— Holy shit, 70 hours already! Oh my god, this game is addicting. Well, that's because, just like Ogres, Soulstone Survivor has many layers. Oh no, I'm so old, so sorry about that. Anyway, the first layer we'll be introduced to is the character and weapon select. Each character and weapon combination has different starting attributes like attack speed, armor, movement speed, yada yada yada, but it also has different skill categories which influences the choices you'll be presented with during a run. Then hello, a skill tree that permanently upgrades all of your character's attributes at the cost of currency acquired via defeating certain enemies. Soon, you'll unlock harder difficulty levels that introduce custom modifiers to runs in addition to increasing enemy damage and health. Eventually, the permanent skill tree will branch out to allow you to further strengthen specific characters. This goes way beyond just pumping numbers even higher and comes with a special mechanic per character that allows them to power up and temporarily enter God mode when certain conditions are met. The Barbarian needs to kill enemies, the Pyromancer needs to stay clear of danger for a set amount of time, the Paladin needs to collect holy inspiration straight from the heavens, and on and on and on. This is a neat idea implemented very imaginatively. Very imaginatively, as it heavily reinforces the character fantasy even further than the skills you can equip, and can wildly transform how you approach each encounter. But then, finally and out of nowhere, the Holy Grail, the Chef's Kiss, the Poggers or whatever, the Rune page. This is bar none, hands down, by a landslide, my favorite mechanic in the entire game, and just goes to show how boring I am that I'm just this fascinated by a stupid diamond grid. This unassuming screen lets you completely transform the game in pretty much any way you like. As you unlock more and more runes, you'll find it possible to turn your frail archer into a slashing brute, or make a build all around taking many different skills that on paper shouldn't synergize but now can, or completely forgo extremely potent debuffs in favor of a huge permanent damage boost, or throw balance out the window and pick 6 copies of the same broken skill and absolutely brutalize anything that even dares show up in the corner of your screen. I mean, look at this footage. This is the highest possible difficulty and the bosses barely showed their faces before getting Kamehameha'd out of the surface of the earth. And that truly is the meat and potatoes of what makes Soulstone Survivors so fun, replayable, and downright impossible to put down. The flexibility and customization that is possible if you're willing to truly engage with all the systems at your disposal. From clear-cut builds where you just stack hundreds of effects that increase critical damage and then pump a sword slash into high heavens that further multiplies that damage, to migraine-inducing idiotically convoluted ideas like making yourself the center of attention of enemies as they slowly march into their own demise, to computer-destroying summoning builds that fill the screen with cute bunnies overflowing with rapids, death and explosions. It is all there for you to discover. Even within each archetype, you can go as simple and straightforward or as gigabrain complicated and obtuse choose as you want. Looking at summons, for example, you can mindlessly take literally every summon option available, or you can use dogs as vessels for gigantic plague explosions that stack to the thousands, while using sad dogs to afflict enemies with a debuff that exponentially increases your damage even further. Something as plain as a pyromancer suffers the same treatment. You can either pick literally everything fire related and call it a day, successfully mind you, or you can assemble a mightily complicated setup that stacks fire skills not as a means to deal damage in and on itself, but as a huge multiplier to a completely unrelated Doom debuff that can just explode enemies from full health when everything clicks together. Can you tell I'm excited? At any step of the way, you can just keep runs going as long and as deep as you want, as upon finishing a level you're presented with different portals that allow you to either just be done right there, or keep going for harder challenges called cycles, and just boil down to much stronger enemies that will outscale you sooner or later until you're eventually defeated. This is a great way of gauging the strength of different builds based on how long you can go, and provides even more customization to your experience as you can tailor the difficulty level in yet another manner. This is all accompanied by a slew of achievements to unlock all of the aforementioned stuff, and more, as this was by no means an exhaustive description. There's also a healthy dose of grinding as you farm rare materials for legendary weapons and sweep thousands and thousands of goons to finally complete the skill tree of your dreams. However, this isn't a flawless process, which brings us to... So, is this the perfect game? Pretty much, yeah.
No, of course not.
I have two major issues with the current state of Soulstone Survivors. First, before you can get to theory crafting mind-bending, ridiculous, over-the-top convoluted builds, it will take you a whole lot of grinding the same content for marginal updates in the skill tree. You get this gigantic and exciting power boost once per character when you unlock their special mechanic. But other than that, it's just hours and hours of plus 5% damage, plus 5 armor, plus 10 movement speed, etc. There's this big gap between unlocking all content such as new weapons and skills and runes, and truly being able to explore them to their fullest. And even if you have an idea that's so bad that will never really take off the ground, there's always something at the back of your head saying, nah, you just need more stats, back to grinding, until you completely max out the skill tree and finally realize that maybe that build that's trying to mash 27 different concepts might not be such a great one after all. Also, there's not really much emphasis placed on building your character defensively. In other ARPGs like Diablo or Path of Exile, there's an expectation that you will take damage and should both survive and power through it, regardless of how much you bump the difficulty. In Soulstone Survivors, you're expected to dodge pretty much 100% of what comes your way, and if you progress far enough, will lose on the spot to even the tiniest of wet slaps given by the frailest of minions. Getting tanky can still be somewhat important and might help you make it through one extra cycle, but it is not something you incorporate into your build or need to develop a strategy for, rather something that just comes along for the ride quietly in the backseat as you mindlessly pick passives that increase your health or reduce damage taken. But hey, this is all what Early Access is for, and by no means makes Soulstone Survivors a bad experience. And that's enough for me. If you want to explode your computer with dozens of character combinations that lead to dopamine injections straight into your vein juice, give Soulstone Survivors a try. Also like, subscribe, hit the bell, or don't I can force you. See ya!